1 week, one continent, 10,000 dead. Thousands died across Europe in a single summer as extreme heat swept across the continent. Now, scientists say this wasn't just a heat wave. Europe's oldest and most vulnerable never stood a chance. And authorities are warning the final number will be higher still. More than 10,000 people died across Europe during the record heat wave that scorched the continent in late June, according to official data. Figures released by EuroMOMO, a mortality monitoring network backed by the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control and the World Health Organization, show over 9,000 of those deaths were among people aged 65 and above. The surge was recorded in the week of June 22nd to June 28th, when temperatures peaked across France, Spain, Britain and neighbouring countries. Lasse Vestergaard, chief physician at Denmark's Statens Serum Institute, which hosts EuroMOMO, said the scale of the deaths was striking for this time of year.
It is difficult to explain this high excess mortality by anything but the extreme heat. To have this kind of excess at this time of year is unusual. It's really high.
Scientists ruled out other likely causes, such as COVID-19, saying the spike could not be explained by anything but the heat itself. In the 8 weeks before the heat wave, mortality across the same countries had actually been running below average. Researchers have linked the extreme temperatures directly to human-caused climate change, warning that such heat waves are becoming more frequent and more intense. Belgium and France logged the highest mortality rates of any European nation during the final week of June, according to EuroMOMO, which does not break down figures by individual country. Belgium's Public Health Institute, Cienzano, said the country's excess mortality was the worst recorded during any heatwave since 2000. The heat also caused widespread disruption, cutting power supplies, shutting schools and breaking temperature records across France, Spain and Britain. A separate study published on July 13th sharpened the focus on one country. Researchers from Imperial College London, the Met Office and the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine estimated 2,700 people died from heat-related causes in England and Wales during the May and June heat waves alone. Nearly half of those deaths, 42%, were attributed directly to the extra heat driven by global warming. Health experts say extreme heat kills largely by triggering heat stroke or worsening existing cardiovascular and respiratory conditions, with older people facing the greatest risk. With EuroMOMO's data still provisional and subject to revision, health authorities across Europe are bracing for the final toll of the summer's heat to climb higher still.
Today it will be sunny with a UV rating of 8. There are no bathing quality warnings. Full bay lifeguards out.
Weather in recent months is a real indication that climate change is here, and that's led to a huge amount of good weather, which means people are heading to the coast and lots of inland waters as well. But what that does mean is we've seen an increase in incidents and sadly a real increase in the number of fatalities in the water, both inland and around the coast. So extreme heat, particularly early on in the spring and the summer, encourages people to head to the water when the open water is still extremely cold. So open water takes a good few months to warm up, and so when you get these early season heat waves in April, May and June, water temperatures are still dangerously cold. So people are very at risk of something called cold water shock, which is where a physiological reaction when your skin temperature changes suddenly. So you go from a nice warm day like this into cold open water, and that can cause you to gasp uncontrollably. It can send your blood pressure up, it can start your heart racing and cause you to gasp uncontrollably.
Lifeguards, go ahead, over.
So we use red and yellow flags to signal the safest place for people to swim and use bodyboards, and that's the area of the water that lifeguards are always watching. So if you see red and yellow flags, that's the place to head to.
Just thinking, whilst we've got you, do we want to do anything float-wise in
The first thing that we ask them to do, whether they're at the beach, the river, the lake, is to stop and to think. And that is stopping, looking around, looking for the risks, looking for the dangers. So whether that's environmental in the sun, or whether it's how cold is the water, how deep is the water, if you're jumping in, are there rocks, is it shallow, are there reeds that you could get caught up in, is there an undercurrent, all of those sorts of things, and also your strategy for exiting the water. Good morning, Sandbanks Beach. This is an RNLI Beach Lifeguard announcement. A reminder that the safest place to swim is in between our red and yellow flags. And then obviously if you get into difficulty, we have our float to live, which is floating on your back in a starfish, looking up to the sky, ears submerged, and just using your hands and feet to make sure you're staying balanced and buoyant. And then when you can, stick your hand up, make as much noise as you can and yell for help. What you want to do is put your head back and lay back into a star shape. You want to face up to the sky and make sure your ears are submerged and your chin is back. Once you have calmed your breathing down, you can extend your hand into the air and yell for help, like this. Help! 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 People are going to come more to the beach, and that's where we just need to tell people to exercise following the lifeguard's advice, swimming between the red and yellow flags, making sure they stay within their depth, you know, not swimming out to the boating lane and things like that. And also being careful with winds and things like inflatables. If there's an offshore wind, don't go on your inflatable, because everyone loves to go on an inflatable, a rubber ring or a lilo or a swan or a duck, or whatever it may be. But yeah, just using your awareness, looking for those risks, and going to a lifeguarded beach if they do decide to do a little staycation at the beach. Yeah, I was doing